Check, check, check. What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. Again, I'm going to try to make these with the least amount of edits as possible with the most amount of value. So if you're here, we're going to go over the Nutrition Made Simple Volume 2. This is the second version of my nutrition and fitness ebook. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's just the first page giving you the main idea of what this whole ebook is going to be about. And the main takeaway here is going to be breaking down the sustainable nutritional habits. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to preach mainly things that are going to be sustainable, not something that's very aggressive or limiting foods or just completely neglecting anything good that you might like. That's not sustainable. We're all going to eventually have that piece of cake, that piece of candy, or that chocolate. So I want to just teach you about nutrition so we don't have to view it as having good and bad foods rather than better and worse choices. Proper training protocols. I am going to go over some fitness stuff here when it comes to methods of training and things you can apply and focus on. And that's mainly the main thing there. Proper training leads to great success long term. So let's go ahead and go into step one. Step one is going to be basically how to find your daily caloric needs, your total number of calories that we need in a day. So I'm just going to give you two options here. You can go ahead and click on that click here, and that takes you to a website where you just put in your age, your height, and your activity level, and it gives you a recommendation based on what goals you are putting. Also have this formula here that it's a little bit easier. Again, these are just starting numbers. They're not set in stone, and everybody's different because everybody's activity level is different and their BMI is different. Everything is different. These are just starting points. So the formula is grab your body weight and multiply that by 14. That's going to give you a calorie number that's going to give you moderate weight loss. For some of you that want to build size, strength, and muscle, you're going to multiply that body weight times 16. That's going to give you that number. So for example, I weigh 170 pounds. And I want to, let's say I want to shed fat, I'm going to multiply it by 14. So 170 times 14, it gives me 2,380 calories that I want to start with. If after a week I log that or I track that and nothing happens, I'm going to drop the calories or raise my activity. Simple as that. Step two. I'm going to teach you what calories and macros are, or macronutrients. So calories is just a unit of energy. It's just how much energy I'm putting in my body, and to keep my weight I need to put an X amount of energy to be able to sustain my movement, my breathing, my walking, my talking, all that good stuff. But if I want to lose weight, I have to reduce that number. It's called a calorie deficit in order to lose some of the weight that I have in my body. Now there's a couple ways to do that I'm going to go over at the bottom. The macronutrients are going to be the three main nutrients in food that make up a calorie. So that's going to be protein, fats, and carbs. They're not in that particular order for any specific reason, but they each have their roles and their values when it comes to the calories that we consume. So here's a little picture of what macronutrients and what kind of foods you expect to find in those. You'll see some fruit, some breads, some starches in the carbs, proteins, fish, eggs, milk, meat, and then fats, oils, nuts, avocados. So at the bottom, I go over how much 1 pound of fat equates to when it comes to calories. And that's going to be 3,500 calories. So if, for instance, you have to lose 10 pounds, we have to find a way to get rid of 35,000 calories. There's two ways to do that. Well, three ways if you count Ozempic, but we're not talking about that here. So you could either eat less, right? There's a lot of people that I know that sustain a lean physique by just having a well-balanced nutritional habit, meaning they don't eat that much. They just eat enough to keep their weight or to reduce weight. And the second, which is what I think would be the long-term version and the more sustainable version for greater health, would be to eat a little bit less than you're currently eating and exercise more in the form of strength training and cardio. And we'll go over that later. I also mentioned a good starting point would be 40% of your calories coming from protein, 40% coming from carbs, and 20% from fat. It's a very generic standpoint. Step 3, what foods fall under each macro: protein, carbs, and fat. So I'm gonna go over each of them in one page. Page number 5 goes over the protein. What's protein? Protein basically helps you repair the muscle tissue that you tear down from resistance training or from any strenuous activity. So if I am a swimmer or I lift weights, my muscles might be a little sore from the activity. Protein is going to be used to repair my muscles stronger, tighter, and a little bit better looking, right? So to find that number, and all this will make sense later as you unravel the whole entire package. You want to just go through the whole thing, and you might need to read it a couple times, but that's what this video is for, so I can visually show you. As some of you are probably like me, I learn best by listening and seeing things, not necessarily reading them. I cannot retain anything reading. So you'll multiply your body weight times 0.7 to give you your grams in your protein in grams. That's just a starting point, again, depending on your goal. So some good sources: red meats, chicken, salmon, eggs, cheese. Next page, we have carbs. There's 2 types of carbs. Neither is better than the other. They just have different values. So simple carbs, as you can see right here, is gonna be what you guys enjoy when you go to Starbucks or when you go to the donut shop. Find some pastries, when you go to Portos, whatever the case is. They're not necessarily the best or healthiest sources because they're usually mixed in with a lot of other ingredients that are going to promote a little bit more cravings down the road. So those are the ones that we might want to stay away from, but they can be used for pre-workouts or for post-workout for those long duration exercise activities. Some people use Rice Krispies right before they lift weights. They get amazing pumps. That's because the carbs got saturated by the bloodstream really fast. Complex carbs are carbs that are going to be on the slower digesting side. So if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you're going to know and you're going to be friendly with complex carbs. Things like vegetables, brown rice, wheat pasta, oats, veggies, stuff like that. Each gram has 4 calories per gram, same as protein. So for every gram of carb, you got 4 calories. And lastly, we have fat. So fat is utilized for a number of reasons, but it does have 9 calories per gram. So we do have to be aware of fat because it takes way less fat to give you double the calories. So women typically require around 50 grams, men 60 through 80 on a day-to-day basis. Great sources are going to be avocados, egg yolks, fattier cuts of fish, nuts, beef tallow, oils, all that good stuff. So definitely a nutrient that we need, but we need to be careful with just because of the calories. All right, step 4 is my month protocol that I like to take beginners through. So each of the weeks has 2 tasks. We have a fitness task and we have a nutritional task. So let's go over week 1. Week 1, I'm going to ask you to just try to follow these protocols. It's not set in stone. Just try to follow 80 to 90% of all these things, and I guarantee you good results on month 1. So week 1's nutritional task is you're going to eat nothing but chicken, turkey, meat, any animal, basically any meat, fish, fruit, and vegetables only. We're going to stay away from the starch stuff. We're going to stay away from the rice, from the breads, from the tortillas, from all that good stuff, just because we're going to try to reset the whole body. We're not going to feel like we're starving just because it's very hard to overeat the meats, the vegetables, and the fruits, right? The first fitness task is going to be to walk for 30 to 40 minutes 4 times a week. I'm not asking to lift yet. We're not doing anything crazy, no running, just walk. Especially if you're sedentary and you're starting this process out, or you're coming back from an injury, or you're brand new, that's going to be the best course of action, just because I've seen the best results for people who follow this exact protocol, just because it eases you into routine. If you try to do what your friend that's been lifting for 10 years and you try to do what he or she is doing, good luck to you, because it's very hard to keep up to someone that's adapted to exercise. That is week 1. Week 2, we're going to start transitioning from eating out to cooking at home. If you are unable to cook at home because of time or resources, or you just don't know how to, or that's just a big deal breaker, order from meal preps or go to restaurants like Chipotle, Cava, or some other few that are very home style types of dishes. Rice, chicken. Obviously, we're not eating rice. So chicken, bowls with lettuce, stuff like that. Our fitness task is going to be to find a gym where you can do strength training, meaning that they have some weights, some cables, some bands. My recommendation would be to go to Built 45 if you're in the area, Sylmar, California. I teach classes there. Obviously, I'm going to be a little biased just because I know all the trainers there and I could vouch for them. But we all are very dedicated trainers that have been in the space for more than a decade and are going to take you through the ins and outs of beginning your fitness journey. A lot of gyms, they go in and they get you going and they want to get you sore. They want to make you feel like you worked out. That's not the best approach because, of course, anything you do is going to make you feel like you haven't worked out because you haven't worked out. So we want to get you going on a nice, steady, safe environment where you're going to be exposed with a lot of functional training movements, things that you can apply to your day-to-day life, and then also expose you to a variety of exercises that you might not see at a commercial gym. Just because at Built we have things from kettlebells to erg machines like the Skierg and the Rower, straight to barbell stuff, the more traditional stuff. We don't have machines, but we do have cable systems, a functional trainer, a lat pull down, and things that are just going, and you're going to also see all walks of life do some amazing things. So you want to be exposed and in a positive environment that's going to help you and uplift you. Some gyms, if you go there, you might run into the wrong person and that's going to unmotivate you. So you want to make sure that you start on a good note. So moving on from week 2, we got week 3. So by now you should have seen some type of gains, get some kind of confidence, and we're going to start trying to focus on tracking our protein. So I know I mentioned earlier that we're not going to be counting our calories because who has time for that? At least right now, you're starting out. We don't want to give you too much to do. So you're going to multiply your weight by 0.7, like I mentioned earlier in our program, on our protein part, and we're going to track our protein. So a quick, easy way to do that will be at the very end. Super simple. You barely even have to track anything. You just have to be a little more mindful. So another thing is 2 to 3 liters of water a day. I will start with 2 if you're not even close to that. And we should be drinking nothing but water anyways. Any sodas, juices, alcohol, all that stuff is just gonna make it so much harder because drinking calories, you could drink a Coke that's 120 calories in 2 seconds versus eating a cup of rice. That's going to take you a lot longer, keep you fuller longer. So we want to stay away from all that. The gym task for the week 3, hopefully you already have a week of lifting, is just to start observing exercises that you feel are going to be of value. The ones that you want to change your body and to give you the best result. I would have to say that the 7 human movement patterns fall under that category because you get to pick one of each of the patterns that I believe are going to be the best sources for you to become the best human and strongest possible. So we got a squat exercise, a hinge exercise, a push, a pull, a lunge, a gait, which is like walking or running, and then a carry exercise. We all carry groceries, right? So you want to get strong at everything. So an example of the squat pattern would be a barbell back squat, with the bar, but that might be very advanced. So you might see a goblet squat or even a body weight squat, wherever you're starting off with your fitness journey. And this is even for advanced people. Some people have no clue what the hell they're doing. They're flying up and down the gym and they're not going to see any progress because you're not measuring anything. And when you're training for something, there has to be measurable goals so that way you can see if you're making progress. And I would suggest this list right here, 7 human movement patterns, is going to be a good start for you to see and just pick ideas from, right? The hinge would be anything that involves bending at the waist. That's going to be working your hamstrings, your glutes. We got a RDL, kettlebell swings, deadlifts, any version. Many movements that you can pick from. Just pick your favorite ones. Obviously, you're starting out, so you're going to be learning different things. Next, we have a push exercise. I always start with a push-up modified version on the knees. You got a pull exercise, lat pull down, seated rows, seated single arm rows. We have a lunge exercise, so it's a single leg exercise. Reverse lunges, forward lunges, side lunges, split squats, everyone's favorite. Next, we have a gait. So everybody likes to walk. I assume we need to do that. So we might have to get good at that, whether it's running, sprinting, hiking, whatever it is. Pick a gait exercise that you're going to track week to week. We should be walking by now anyways. And a carry. We have farmer's walks. We have the carry. The core exercise would fall under the carry, I would say. So things like ab wheels, leg raises, things like that. So there's an example of a few ladies that I train just doing some good movements right there. Let's go to week 4, where this one is going to be the tricky one, because after week 4, I have no further instruction, because that's going to be where we're all going to be heading our different routes. If someone that has strength goals and you're already on the leaner side, you're going to be doing something completely different than someone that has a 50-pound weight loss goal. So you want to make sure that you get very specific. Nowadays, we have so many gyms, so many events, sports, we have competitions, we have High Rocks coming up. I'm training a couple people for that. We have run clubs everywhere. So just be a part of something, or train by yourself and educate yourself, or hire a trainer. Whatever it is, it's time to start leveling up your game and get a little more specific. So here we have a sample meal plan. Now, this is just a sample, one of many ways to do the same thing. The main thing when you're creating a meal plan or you're structuring your plan is to be in a caloric deficit or a surplus depending on your goal. So that has to be specific. This is very general, because I can't give this to a 130-pound woman and give this to a 200-pound male when the goals are different and the stature is different. So this is just to give you ideas on how to set it up. For breakfast, the goal would be 40 to 50 grams of protein. So let's say if we end up working with 130 grams of protein in a day, if you do maybe 40 grams, that's 120 in 3 meals. We're kind of there with 10 grams of a snack. So you have to be smart, mix and match. Some people like eating 3 times, some people 4 times, some people 5. Whatever the case is, just try to fill in the blank here, and you feel free to mix and match things that correspond to that particular food and quantities. If you're looking for efficiency, Costco, their frozen aisle and anything labeled organic, their fruits and their veggies, bomb. You gotta try them, because I don't got time to cook, but definitely have made choices and look for places that sell things that are going to be nutrition and fitness friendly. For a snack, we got a protein shake, the Power Core. Here's the Core Power, whatever that's called. This is a 26 gram. There's a 42. And then, or you can make your own shake. I'll probably pop up a little example of the shake that I like, and to give you ideas. But that's basically, how you would want to envision your day. Now, notice how there's not much room to go get a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A, because the thing is that the macros and the ingredients and everything just put together is not going to be ideal. If you look at the ingredients of the chicken breast from the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, this should probably be like what? Maybe 1, 2, 3 ingredients. Chicken breast, maybe salt, maybe pepper, maybe oil, whatever they used. But you're going to see a big list. And those are the things you need to be careful, because just because you're eating a steak at a very nice restaurant doesn't mean that they didn't, pour a bunch of oil and a bunch of other things that are going to make the steak taste great. But that's not what we're looking for. Unfortunately, if you're looking for taste here, you're gonna realize real quick that the tasty stuff is probably not the most healthy stuff. So you have to try to get this mental idea that I want to feel full, I want to feel stuffed, I want to feel satisfied, versus I want to feel great, I want to feel no inflammation in my stomach, and I feel healthy. That's what I think makes the switch when it comes to people that I train that come from the sedentary, eating whatever the hell I want lifestyle to a more fit, conscious, healthy individual. Balancing social life, feel free to read that. very self-explanatory, just giving you a little background on what I've been through and how I've been able to kind of handle that and get through circumstances that we all eventually come across or are going through right now. But the moral story is, if you have 20 pounds plus to lose, you gotta stop drinking. It's just, I'm not making the rules. It's just very hard to lose weight when you're hungover because you can't work out, or when you feel like crap because you're hungover and you can't work out. And then you're also going to be craving crap, and that doesn't work. You see that? So bonus material, I just go over some of the supplements that I take. I'm only going over 2, creatine and protein powders. Feel free to scan through that. Cheat meals. Now, obviously, I mentioned earlier that we're aiming for 80 to 90% compliance, because it's very unrealistic to stick to 100% meal plans, because everybody has cravings. I have cravings. If you know me, you know I like Snickers. I'm gonna have a Snickers a week. Maybe back in the day when I used to drink, I used to have a Snickers a day. I could feel it, I could see it, and I know I was having it. So definitely something that you want to keep a good grasp and build that discipline. Because right now, month 1, you're going to be motivated, but we're not going to start getting that training to be disciplined until you're no longer motivated. It doesn't count when you're motivated. If you're motivated, you're not being disciplined because you're motivated. It's easy to do it, but it's when you're not motivated, when you don't want to go to places, when you don't want to go train, or when you don't want to eat well, that's when our discipline muscle gets trained. And that's about it. Here is just basically a outro of me. Thank you guys for staying tuned or just downloading the ebook. This is for you guys. This is for your benefits. I try to put the most amount of value in the smallest amount of space for free. Things that I've charged before in the past. Back in the day when I used to be younger, because the internet wasn't really that strong or that powerful as it now. But now we're oversaturated. There's way too much crap. Way too many people selling you stuff. Right here, I'm not selling you anything. If anything, I'm going to make you money, save you money, because if you become more fit, more confident, and more in shape, you're going to do better at your job. You're going to move better. You're going to look better. You're going to perform better. And it's just going to put more money in your pocket, because you're going to be spending less on crap like alcohol and eating out. If you'll see real quick, once you start eating a little bit healthier, start feeling better, you're going to start investing back into yourself. And I feel like this is going to be a calling for those of you that are like-minded, and exactly like all my clients, we all strive and we all get ahead, and there's a reason for it. There's no secret. It just takes a lot of work. So I'll see you guys next time.